Welcome to the Vin Armani Show. We are streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Vin Armani. Also on Twitter and Periscope at Vin Armani is my handle there. And of course, we are streaming live on the Facebook page of our content partner, Activist Post. That's facebook.com/Activist Post. It's Monday again. And so that means we are coming to you straight out of fabulous Las Vegas. And I say we, but today, unfortunately, or we'll see, fortunately, unfortunately, things happen as they will. It's just me today. No Christian. So I am down a co-host and producer. I am going to be producing the show today myself. So if there are some glitches, you can blame me. I will take full responsibility. Christian will be back next week. He just had a really wonderful opportunity come up, and in order to take advantage of it, it meant that he would not be here this morning. But Christian, if you're out there, if you're checking the show out, if you managed to see it, we miss you, man. It's not going to be the same show for sure. But now I would be introducing Christian. Now I'm just going to introduce me. Let's see here. There. It's just me. It's just me. We're gonna see today what I can do by myself, and it's appropriate because today's show is all about the power of the individual. Our guest today is Adam Williams, and he is a personal development empowerment coach. He's part of a system of development called Avatar. Somebody that I met at Acapulco, in Acapulco. Vibrant guy, just full of energy, full of positivity, full of light. I like to say that the proof is in the pudding, right? So if you're looking, he's the type of person that you want to be around, and the type of person that I think everybody should strive to be, because that's ultimately how you get by and how you do well in the world. So interestingly enough, he ended up as the guest. He wasn't the scheduled guest, but our scheduled guest got cold feet, we could say, because he thought that, he will remain nameless, but he thought that I might be overly critical of some recent work that he has done, because I feel that while he prides himself on being an individualist and ascribes to individualist philosophies like anarchism, that some of the work that he's doing is promoting collectivism. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But what I want to focus on this show, and so it's just turned out that this show is all about the individual and the power of the individual, and how evolving yourself as an individual is the way to change your lot in life. Because ultimately that's what we're looking for. When we say, I want to change the world, what we're really saying is, I would like my experience in the world to be different. And that is a reality. Changing what your experience of the world is very possible, for better or for worse. As a matter of fact, it happens naturally. You grow, you evolve, you live, and your perspective on the world changes, your understanding of the world changes. It's about taking responsibility and taking control within yourself. That's how you really make it happen. How you don't make it happen is trying to change the behavior of others. Because one of the only ways that can happen is via force. Before I get into the other stories, our story this week that I want to start on actually started Monday of last week. And it's yet another example of some Vinstradamus-like behavior, particularly related to a little tweet that I had put out back in September. You may recall when Hillary Clinton fell outside of the 9/11 memorial ceremony. Hillary Clinton fell, and it was captured on camera, and a bunch of news outlets, including InfoWars, put it up online. Subsequently, they had their videos pulled because someone had purchased the rights, the copyright, the intellectual property rights to that video, And they had basically filed copyright claims with YouTube, and YouTube pulled the video down. And at the time, I tweeted this. I said, this new IP censorship, that's intellectual property, censorship tactic, being beta tested by pulling this Hillary video down is evil genius. And interestingly enough, last week, we covered the United Airlines thing, and we played a clip during that coverage that was off of People Magazine's Instagram page. They had purchased some video from another passenger that showed basically the before setup of that poor guy getting dragged off the United flight. We played that. And because we played that, we got on the wrong side of this copyright thing. So we're just playing the video. We're going through. Some of you who are on Facebook may have had your live stream cut. So if you're watching on Facebook and you're like, what happened to the live stream? Or why is it still not there? Where did the post go? Well, right after the show, I got this. An email from Facebook that said, unfortunately, we couldn't post the video you uploaded. There's nothing to worry about. It's because the video contains music, audio, or a video clip that belongs to someone else. You may be able to post the video if you have the rights. Otherwise, you can delete the video. So, the video got taken out, and that story vanishes into the memory hole. Now, thankfully, it was still up on YouTube. It didn't get pulled from YouTube, but when I went to take the little beginning off of, the little, when we stream live, you'll see that we start out and say the show will start in, 5 minutes, whatever, and we have the countdown timer. So I like to strip that off on the archive. When I did that, I received this. YouTube copyright notice. And if you say down there, it says copyrighted content was found in your video. The claimant is allowing their content to be used in your YouTube video. However, ads might appear on it. So they basically took the monetization away from us. So we won't get paid on any of the ads that played. And any ads that play will go to People Magazine. You see down there it says what is the content. At least they're nice enough to tell you what the content is on YouTube. It says audio-visual content from 4320 to 4401. And so you see there 4325 I've got playing. It is that People Magazine video. And Storyful News is the channel that it's owned by. I have no idea who that is, Storyful News. And so you also see there, file a dispute. So here's the YouTube dispute process. Here's basically what happens with YouTube now, as I understand it, as I've walked through this. So you have copyrighted material. This gets submitted to YouTube, either through a clearinghouse, your distributor, etc. Then, number two, YouTube takes the material in, and their algorithms analyze it. And then when you or I upload a video, those videos are also analyzed, and if there's a match for either the audio or for the video, I think in this case it must definitely be the audio, because the video wouldn't be an exact match. We sort of did a screen capture on that. So then, if a match is found, the newly uploaded video is either removed or it's demonetized, and that's based basically on the whim of the copyright holder. So in this case, the copyright holder said, okay, well, it will just be monetized for us. So that basically means anybody who uploaded that as a news channel, right? Anybody who uploaded that onto YouTube, any independent media, any ads that run on any of those videos now the money will go to the owner of that People Magazine thing. So the uploader then can submit a dispute, which I did. The dispute is sent to and reviewed by the copyright holder, not YouTube. So YouTube doesn't review to see whether or not you may have the rights. They send it straight to the copyright holder, or the person who's registered as the copyright holder by them. And then the copyright holder either accepts or rejects the dispute. So I did file a dispute. That got put in. Let's see if this screen will come up here. There we go. So as you can see down there, dispute is in process. It could take 30 days. Receive a response within 30 days. So in this case, it's just monetization. It's just monetization. So while that could be damaging to certain people, I mean, there are quite a few people who make their money completely off their YouTube videos. We don't. I mean, we definitely don't make any money doing this show at all. I do this show because out of pure selfishness, it helps me to clarify my thoughts. It forces me every week to go in and really think about the things that are going on in a very structured way so that I can talk about them. And I get to have conversations with some of the most interesting people in the world. So it really enriches my life. I mean, I basically, I don't do the show for free. I pay to do the show. It costs money to do the show. If it turns out to be able to sustain itself, wonderful. If it doesn't, it's well worth the amount that I pay to do the show in the various bills that we have and equipment costs, etc. If it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't do it. So that's not really my concern. My concern is memory holing things getting pulled down, never to be put back up again, or things being just simply impossible to post onto YouTube. What's interesting about this as versus other copyright, and why I said that this whole tactic was evil genius, is what's different about this is it goes around what's called the fair use doctrine when it comes to copyright. And so basically, fair use, this is from Stanford. So what is fair use? I'll just read from here. In its most general sense, fair use is any copying of copyrighted material done for a limited and transformative purpose, such as to comment upon, criticize, or parody a copyrighted work. Such uses can be done without permission from the copyright holder. In other words, fair use is a defense against a claim of copyright infringement. If your use qualifies as a fair use, then it would be considered an infringement. So down below it says, most fair use analysis falls into two categories, commentary and criticism, that's the first, or parody. Now let's look at commentary and criticism as some examples. If you're commenting on or critiquing a copyrighted work, for instance, writing a book review, fair use principles allow you to reproduce some of the work to achieve your purposes. Some examples of commentary and criticism include quoting a few lines from a Bob Dylan song in a music review, summarizing and quoting from a medical article on prostate cancer in a news report, copying a few paragraphs from a news article for use by a teacher or student in a lesson, or copying a portion of a Sports Illustrated magazine article for use in a related court case. So as you can see, this right now, this People magazine issue definitely falls under fair use. However, this is not People magazine having to go to court against, say, a newspaper or against CNN. This is YouTube's automated algorithm going in and pulling it down. And the person who decides whether or not it goes back up is the copyright holder. The person so you can go out, you can buy the content. You imagine what this could, we saw it with Hillary Clinton, but you imagine what this could do in terms of embarrassing content. Right? If someone has enough money, they can go out and purchase embarrassing content. And once purchased, even if it's out in the public, they can effectively prevent it from ever being published on Facebook, from ever being published on YouTube. In this day and age, that's effectively a memory hole. You can memory hole content. This is brand new. So you can almost take, it's almost like a personal like making things classified or top secret, where it can't even be leaked. And it's completely within the rights of Facebook. It's completely within the rights of YouTube as a private company to decide. They can decide arbitrarily what goes on their network. So this is something that we need to pay attention to, and it's something that's happening. We've got YouTube. This is recent. This is from Gizmodo. This is from. This is very recent. I believe this is within the last several weeks. So this is Gizmodo. YouTube makes 12 million videos accessible in restricted mode. In March, LGBT YouTube creators criticized Google for hiding some of their videos in, quote, restricted mode, unquote, which filters potentially, quote, mature content. After initially downplaying the extent of the problem, Google issued a non-apology, then a slightly more apologetic non-apology, and finally posted a fuller actual apology on its blog. In that post, Google acknowledged this feature isn't working the way it should, and promised it was, quote, going to fix the issue. Today, Google posted an update on changes it has made to restrictive mode. The post doesn't provide many specifics about how it has altered its filtering system, but claims those changes have added more than 12 million videos, quote, including hundreds of thousands featuring LGBTQ plus content, unquote. 12 million is a lot of videos, though given that 400 hours of YouTube material are uploaded every minute, it's a small fraction of the total number of videos. Still, it implies that something was pretty significantly wrong with the restricted mode algorithm. The post also goes into more detail about what content is specifically restricted, and this is important. This is from the post by YouTube. Content about drugs and alcohol, including drinking in the video, graphic descriptions of violence, quote, mature subjects, terrorism and war, swearing, and sex. So this basically means that if you're swearing in a video, which we do on our videos, if you're discussing war, or if you're discussing terrorism, which we do in this video, in our videos, which a lot of people's information, especially with a war on the horizon, is going to come from YouTube. Well, all of those can be potentially demonetized or blocked to the viewing public, or put in this restricted mode, which basically says you have to be logged in, and that particular user that you're logged in as has to have been registered or verified as being an adult. Again, memory holing. This is sending stuff straight down the memory hole. And even the New York Times has commented on this. This is actually just from April 17th. This is from the New York Times, how YouTube's shifting algorithms hurt independent media. YouTube's most serious ad change yet came in the wake of reports from the Times of London and the Wall Street Journal that ads were appearing on YouTube videos that espouse extremism and hate speech. When major advertisers like AT&T and Johnson & Johnson withdrew their spots, YouTube announced that it would try to make the site more palatable to advertisers by, quote, taking a tougher stance on hateful, offensive, and derogatory content. But according to YouTube creators, that shift has also punished video makers who bear no resemblance to terrorist sympathizers and racists. YouTube's comedians, political commentators, and experts on subjects from military arms to video games have reported being squeezed by the ad shakeup, often in videos they've posted to YouTube. On the site, it's known as, quote, the adpocalypse. To rein in its sprawling video empire, 400 hours of video are uploaded to the platform every minute. YouTube uses machine learning systems that can't always discern context or distinguish commentary or humor from hate speech. That limitation means that YouTube routinely pulls ads from content deemed not advertiser-friendly. That includes depictions of violence or drug use, quote, sexual humor, and, quote, controversial or sensitive subjects, including war and natural disasters. This is actually very, very scary. You know, we're all on the lookout, on the horizon for the rise of the robots. But we always think of the robots as these physical things that are going to be walking around. So many of the automated systems, so many of these robots are algorithms. They're running everything. That's how you're getting things suggested on Netflix. That's what's ingesting your preferences and then serving you ads as you go around through Google Ads or on Amazon. These algorithms are everywhere, and they're growing every day. And when you give over this sort of editorial control to algorithms, Well, it's already happened. If you use Google News, you're being served news by an algorithm. An algorithm is what's deciding what should be the top story. Think about that. Computers are deciding. It's not humans even anymore. So all of the conspiracy theories about this elite that's deciding things, they're really not. We've already handed it over to machines. And that's, for me, that's the scariest part about artificial intelligence, is what I've always considered is that you could have an artificial intelligence. We already have artificial intelligence writing news articles. You can go and check this out. And composing music. When you have a sophisticated enough artificial intelligence, I mean, think about where you get your information. I mean, you talk to a few people throughout the day, but a lot of it is just ingesting it off your devices, your phone, your computer. Think about if there was a sophisticated enough artificial intelligence, it could basically tell you anything. It would be very difficult for you unless you were actively going out and looking. If you're passively looking, it could really start directing humanity and start directing individuals on almost an individual basis to do certain things. Think about that. So it's something that's going to happen. There's no way to prevent it. But you as an individual have to take responsibility for your own education. Here's what's happening. This is even going so far as to possibly dip into the revenue of the Kim Kardashians of the world. I believe we have this. Let's see. Like I said, I'm doing this myself today. Oh, great. Well, I will read this to you. What happened with the Instagram situation? Here we go. Celebrities on Instagram warned by FTC over paid ads. This is CNET. If an influencer is paid to post an endorsement on Instagram, the FTC wants you to know about it. The Federal Trade Commission has sent over 90 reminders to what it calls, quote, influencers, celebrities, athletes, models, and the like, asking them to clearly state at the beginning of each post if they were paid to endorse a product or service, according to a statement released on Wednesday. The FTC said any material connection should be made clear in the first 3 lines of a photo's caption, so all mobile users can see it without needing to click more. The FTC added that a simple hashtag SP sponsored post or thanks whatever the brand is aren't sufficient disclosures. Sponsored posts on Instagram are big business. Kim Kardashian, who has nearly 98.4 million followers, can rake in around $500,000 for a single endorsement campaign. According to Us Weekly, anyone with 3 million to 7 million followers can expect a cool $75,000 for an endorsement on Instagram, reported Esquire. And the question that we really have to ask is this really any of the government's business? Is this a role that the government should be playing? Should the government be demanding? And what are you going to do? What is the FTC going to do if Kim Kardashian has her little fit tee and doesn't say this is a sponsored post? Like, they're going to really spend money going through it? Actually, no. It's going to be algorithms. So pretty soon you're going to have little police bots out there policing things for the FTC. We're handing it over. Which in many ways brings us to our second story. As we begin to see automation coming, and yet another thing that I've been talking about and that I've predicted for quite a while, particularly right here in our home state of Nevada. It's looking like Nevada is going to be drone central. It's going to be a robot hub. We're going to see a lot of new development. Already we had, of course, the Tesla Gigafactory startup, and that's in Reno. But that's not the only thing going on, either in Reno or with Tesla. So this week, Tesla revealed that it's going to have an electric semi-truck in September. This is from TechCrunch. Elon Musk just let us know when we'll get a look at the electric semi-truck that he's teased in the past. The Tesla transport video will be revealed in September, the CEO said on Twitter on Thursday, noting that the team has done an amazing job and that the vehicle is seriously next level. Plans at Tesla for an electric semi-truck have been in the works for a while now. The vehicle was first mentioned back in July of 2016 when Musk revealed part 2 of his fabled, quote, master plan for his electric vehicle company. The Tesla Semi, as Musk called it, is designed to help reduce the cost of cargo transportation and improve safety for drivers, according to the CEO at the time. Tesla is not the only company targeting electric drivetrains for transport videos. Nikola revealed its one vehicle last year too, although that's a hybrid that uses compressed natural gas in addition to its electric battery. Tesla's goal overall is to, quote, expand to cover the major forms of terrestrial transport, according to Musk's master plan, and the transport truck is part of that goal. Now, it was already reported that the company Otto, which is spelled O-T-T-O, if I can get back to me, is going to be testing their trucks, their automated trucks, in Nevada. Now, Otto is not an electric semi. Otto is actually a retrofit, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, it was purchased by Uber. It's some former Google people. It was purchased by Uber. It's basically a way to retrofit an existing semi-truck, like a Mack truck, a Peterbilt, to retrofit those to be fully autonomous and driverless. It's not a new truck. You take the old truck, you put this auto system on it, and it makes it driverless. One very important thing to remember, transportation is the largest industry, the largest sector of the industry in terms of employment. Of all the different industries in the United States and in most of the West, transportation employs the most people. In the US, it's something like 15 million jobs. A lot of drivers. You know, think about how much worse this recession that we're in would be were it not for Uber and Lyft filling the gaps for a lot of people. Uber's planning to be completely automated by 2020. That's their plan. They already have the automated driverless cars running in Pittsburgh. Now here you have Tesla. Tesla's about to release this Model 3 this year. It's already set up to be fully automated. I guarantee you when they release the semi-truck, it's going to be fully automated as well, or at least have a capability to be driverless. That's a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs. I mean, think about, you know, with the rise of Amazon, think about all the deliveries that UPS drivers are making. I mean, there's a market to automate that too. UPS and FedEx, post office, every delivery driver, couriers. I mean, imagine. And when it comes to Reno and the Gigafactory, as I've been following this, I mean, here's another Vinstradamus. A lot of this is going to be about Reno. This was from back in 2014. Tweet from me. Viva Reno! The Detroit of drones. The Detroit of drones. Nobody was talking about Reno and drones at that time. Now this week, what do we see? Google makes a big land grab in Reno for a future data center. Google Alphabet has acquired, this is from Forbes, Google Alphabet has acquired 1,200 acres of land near Reno and a few miles south from Tesla's gargantuan Gigafactory. The speculation is that Google will use the land for an upcoming data center and also as a potential testing track for the company's Waymo unit. Waymo is Google Alphabet's autonomous driving subsidiary. The article speculates that Google will prefer setting up its testing facilities for Waymo in Nevada, where there are fewer restrictions in place than there are in California. Nevada is also in the process of passing legislation that would make it an ideal place for testing out self-driving vehicles in a more legislatively relaxed setting, so to speak. In other words, less rules and regulations than in California. So again, what we see, Google, which is a California institution, a Bay Area institution, which basically gets to have its way and do whatever it wants to do up there in the Bay Area, is moving to an area that has fewer restrictions. Of course. So, Nevada, Reno, what are they going to be testing up there? That's the question. So we know about the cars, the trucks, but when you get autonomous, you get whole new capabilities. They say, why weren't we supposed to have flying cars? Why don't we have flying cars yet? Well, the reason why you don't have flying cars is because they would need to be autonomous. You can't have humans. Imagine how bad of drivers we are. You can't have humans flying around. And it just so turns out that Larry Page, one of the founders of Google, has been working on a flying car. You say, why don't we have flying cars? Well, they're here. His company is called Z-Aero. Here's a little piece from a few months ago about Z-Aero. It says, people have reported a mysterious aircraft in Hollister, California. Could it be a flying car?
Well, I had a coworker come up to me and was telling me there was a plane hovering up by the runway. By the time I got a chance to see it, it was going down. It was hovering about 20-25 feet off the ground. I've never seen one really hover off the ground and being so quiet as it was. Something new I've never seen before, something like out of a movie or something. My initial thought it was some kind of experiment or something that we're doing out there.
So this is the patent that it has the ability of vertical takeoff. You see it with the rotors and can fit in a single car garage. Google's Larry Page reportedly is providing funding for Z.Aero. Not much is known about the company or the project.
They want their privacy, and we're going to respect their privacy. And when they're ready to talk about it, we'll talk about it and make sure everybody's invited out here. If they want to keep it wrapped up, and that's fine with us.
It's a four rotor, four propeller system. Well, that is under wraps. But what's not under wraps is the fact that there is a competitor company from China who have a flying car. Not a flying car. I'm about to show it to you, and it's super, super cool. It's a drone. They just have taken the drones that we're all used to seeing. They made it much larger, and it's a passenger drone, and it's fully autonomous. It's called the E-Hang. I'm going to show it to you. It's here, and guess where it's being tested? Nevada. Here we go. Let's see. Go straight to it. Show us the E-Hang video. Come on. Or nah. Let me see. Again, I'm doing this by myself today. No Christian in the studio, unfortunately. Oh. This is making me very unhappy. Well, while I'm at that, I would just want to say hi, and oh, it's looking like it's not giving me my controller, but what I can do is say hey to all the people on the live chat. I actually get a chance to look at that. Here we go.
These flying drones could one day revolutionize the way we travel. This is the E-Hang, the world's first passenger-carrying drone. People would enter the 8-propeller drone, but before they do, they would put their destination into an accompanying app. The E-Hang is 100% autonomous. The drone will begin testing in Nevada later this year. The Chinese company behind the passenger drone sees it primarily being used for short trips around town. It could fly at speeds of 91 kilometers an hour. However, if you want to travel with a friend, you're out of luck. The drone can only hold one passenger at a time. The E-Hang doesn't have FAA approval to fly in the United States just yet, but the company is hoping it will soon. Phil Hahn, CNBC, London.
We are on the cusp of one of the biggest changes ever. Who'll build the roads? Will we even need roads? I was thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking, as I was thinking about this drone and preparing the show, I went to lunch, and I parked in a parking lot of a shopping center, huge parking lot. You know, and I was looking, and I was like, wow. I was near the casino over here in Henderson, and I was like, most of the space that's taken up here is parking lots and roads. Like if you look at a piece of commercial property, for instance, usually, especially if it's a large shopping center, there's equal or more ground space for the parking lot than there is for the actual store itself. And imagine a situation where you have all of these vehicles moving around autonomously, and particularly the ones that are flying, and you don't need that space. What are we going to do with all this asphalt? You know, imagine how much smaller cities could be. I mean, we're on the cusp of something, and the thing is, that thing flies now. It's here. It's flying. I mean, Elon Musk is landing autonomous rockets on autonomous boats. All of these jobs that are going to go out the window. And what will we do? We're actually starting to have a discussion. And this is our next story, a discussion about what I think is one of the most dangerous ideas to come along in a very, very long time. And that is universal basic income. UBI. This is straight up communism. I mean, it can't be described as anything else. The idea that people would get a fixed amount, that every single person would be entitled to a check cut by the government. There's a great, for those of you who aren't familiar with universal basic income, there is a little slide thing that I found from the site Futurism. We'll just go through it. They are the first people that I've seen really address, yes, that this is about automation, that this is a response to automation. Is this the solution? Well, let's take a look. So the question, universal basic income, again, this is from Futurism. The answer to automation? Question mark. So it says robot to worker ratios are rising rapidly in factories around the world. In Korea, there's like almost 5 robots per 100 workers. In the United States, there's like 1.64 robots per 100 workers. That's increasing. Even in China, it's 0.36. In Germany, it's almost 3 robots per 100 workers. As their numbers grow, the cost of their implementation shrinks. And then we have this chart that's the payback period for robot systems over time. So what we can see is that drastically going down. So for instance, in Thailand, in 2013, it took 5 years for a robot to pay itself back. In 2017, 3 years, less than 3 years, 2.5. So that's basically the overall return on investment being doubled, or the initial cost being recouped in half the time. That's huge. So you could see, looking at that line, that potentially by 2020, that could be a robot paying itself back in a year. Let's go to the next slide here. Next. Let's go. Boy. There we go. So these are the jobs at risk in the developed world from automation. Fresno, California, 53.8% of the jobs are at risk. Here in Las Vegas, 50% of the jobs are at risk. These are existing jobs, right? We already have a situation where a lot of people are out of work. Los Angeles, California, 47%. So next. So here you go. The problem is bigger than in manufacturing. So here are the segments, and what percentage of the jobs are at risk in various segments. Insurance underwriter, 99% of jobs at risk. Farm labor, 97% of jobs at risk. Fast food cook, 97% of jobs at risk. Construction labor, 88%. Truck driver, 79%. I think clearly that's 99%. Mail carrier, 68%. That is current. With current robot technology. I think mail carrier is also 99%. once Amazon figures out how to deliver with drones, it's curtains. That's going to be every competitor is going to have to use drones to deliver. Now, what I find interesting and what really says where the mind state of people who are even thinking that this is a good idea is the question right here at the end. How will we take care of our workers when there is no work? How will we take care of our workers? Who is the we? How are they our workers? And who are workers? Like, who are we referring to as workers? There are people who need to sustain themselves. People are not workers unless they're working. But not everybody's just a worker. That's not who you are. That's this collectivist idea. Straight up Marxism. Let's go next here. See if we can get this slide to go. Taking a very long time for it to cut in. Let's see. Sorry about this, guys. It's very disconcerting. Oh boy. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Sorry, guys. Clearly, I need Christian to be here. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Here we go. Nope. Yeah, so basically, to explain to you how this, how my system here works, there's a little... Yeah, I will do this from the control room. Maybe I'll just do the rest of the show from the control room, because this is not working out too very well. So, you will hear me take a move over here. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this from the control room. All right. Okay, look at that. On the fly. Power of the individual. Right there. Okay, so here we go. So now I'm here. Hey, guys. Okay, so let's take a look at these slides. And as they ask the question, who will take care of our workers when there is no work? So here are the basics of UBI. What is universal basic income? It says a universal basic income is a fixed amount at a level sufficient for subsistence given by the state to all its citizens regardless of income or work status. How is UBI distributed? Most basic income proposals suggest that purchasing power be distributed at scheduled intervals, a week, a month, or even a year. However, proposals do exist that suggest money be given in a lump sum, perhaps when you turn 18. How much should be given? The simple answer is as much as it takes. Average proposals hover around $10,000 annually, although the exact amount varies widely from country to country. Switzerland is considering a $2,600 a month UBI, while Kenya is testing a $1,000 a year UBI. How much would it cost? In a country like the United States, it would cost $3.2 trillion to distribute a $10,000 UBI to all citizens. If you made exclusions, now this part is crazy. If you made exclusions for children, households earning more than $100,000 and retirees receiving Social Security, that number would fall to $1.5 trillion. So basically, if you make over $100,000, you're not going to get the $10,000. You're not going to get the $10,000 a month. Now, here's what's very difficult for me about that. I have earned $100,000 a year. I did not take home $10,000 a month. That's crazy. Oh, wait, is this yearly, though? $10,000 a year? Yes? $10,000 annually. Okay, good. Not very much, right? So that's like, what, $1,500 a month, a little more than that. Okay, let's cut back to this and see. How would governments pay for it? Due to the inherent scale of a universal income, funding would likely come from a variety of sources: carbon taxes, income taxes, VAT, negative interest rates, earnings from investments, decreases in military spending, sovereign wealth funds, and resource-based revenues are all being explored. What are the arguments for UBI? The most substantial benefit would be the elimination of households living below the poverty line. That's a lie, and we'll discuss why that is, which would afford everyone a base level of income security. Many believe it would also result in an explosion in an explosion in creativity, entrepreneurship, and research. Some even see universal basic income as a way to distribute the fruits of technological advancement fairly. What are the arguments against UBI? Many opponents of UBI believe an unconditional benefit would disincentivize productivity and work, though early experiments have shown these concerns are largely unsubstantiated. Others fear that governments around the world will not be able to secure the funds to afford UBI in perpetuity. Finally, some argue a global benefit could result in inflation. Okay, let's talk about this really, really quick. Let's imagine a scenario where everybody gets, let's say it's $1,000 a month, right? Every single person gets $1,000 a month. That is necessarily going to increase prices. You are increasing the overall floor of what people make. Now you say, well, what proof do you have for that? Well, why does everything cost more in Beverly Hills? Why does everything cost more in wealthy neighborhoods? Why can you charge more for goods and services, for instance, in a casino in Las Vegas? It's because there's an assumption being made that the amount of disposable income that people have is greater there than, for instance, in the hood. So if you raise the floor, you raise the floor of everything. Rents are going to go up. Prices of goods are going to go up. They have to go up. The only way that they wouldn't go up is if you instituted government price controls. Now, at this point, when everybody's getting a certain ration of money and certain things, they would be necessities. I mean, this is the way it goes. This is what they're doing. This is a push towards communism. What they would have to do is put price controls on things like milk, on things like rent, like they'd have to have like a Section 8 type of situation, where certain housing, or the government would build housing, and then this housing is this certain amount. And what you eventually get is you get the government making subsidized goods, people getting this little amount of money because there are no jobs, and that you basically have this giant welfare program. And the question is, are you incentivized to work if you were given the basics to live? Does that incentivize people? Well, let me ask you this. Who is more incentivized to get a job? Let's say a teenager. Which one of these teenagers would be more incentivized to get a job? Both are living at home with their parents, okay? One gets an allowance, one doesn't. Both of them have needs, both of them have desires. Their needs are basically met, but they're basic desires of things that they may want for themselves. One gets an allowance from their parents, one does not. Who is more likely to take the time and to have the incentive to go and get a job? There are a lot of people who are working now who would be more than happy to live very frugally and to basically be poor and living off the universal basic income rather than have the job that they have now. Now, a lot of those people will be losing the job that they have. But this is something that we need to address, because it's not just about providing. Like, that's only one side. Okay, we're going to provide for people. I want to provide for people too. But that's only one side. The other side is, in order to provide that, you have to steal from people. You have to take from the people, the households earning more than $100,000. And that's crazy. Households earning more than $100,000 a year. Right? So that's, if you have two people working, if you both have $50,000 a year jobs, which is, you're not rich by any stretch of the imagination. then you're going to get $10,000 a year just given to you by the government, and probably the opportunity to get at those subsidized goods. So this is being looked at. This has been looked at. Fee did a great story here, and I will pull up this. Let's see. Universal basic income would mean massive tax hikes. This is from fee.org. What connects Martin Luther King and Milton Friedman, George McGovern and Frederick Hayek, the Adam Smith Institute, and John McDonnell? The answer is that all are fans of the universal basic income, a policy that is suddenly the hottest thing in town. Finland is trying it. Scotland may follow suit. Silicon Valley bigwigs, including Mark Andreessen, are keen. Long explorations of the idea have been published in the Financial Times and New Yorker, and this weekend, Benoit Hamon romped to victory in the French socialist primaries by making it the centerpiece of his manifesto. Universal basic income, or UBI as the cognoscenti call it, is in theory wonderfully appealing. The idea is that rather than doling out benefits, the state guarantees every citizen a certain lump sum per year handed out regardless of age or need. You can tweak the model in a host of different ways by giving higher amounts to the disabled or to the children, or smaller, or the elderly, or smaller amounts to children, or by withdrawing the payments as earnings increase, which is how UBI's sibling, the negative income tax, works. But the essence is that everyone gets the bare minimum needed to get by. It is far, far cheaper to administer than the existing system in which people earn money, then hand it to the government, which hands it back to them. At a stroke, it therefore abolishes much of the bureaucracy associated with the welfare state. It is also more efficient and, to libertarians, more moral. Giving people money to spend as they wish means that they are more likely to spend it on things they actually need or want, rather than on what the government thinks they do. This is one reason why free market thinkers such as Hayek and Friedman have been attracted to the idea or variants upon it. So, this is a very, very, very attractive idea to a lot of people, but it is a huge trap. It is a huge trap, but people are not preparing for what is coming in terms of automation. We are not prepared at all. And the way to prepare is that we have to take control over our own lives. So there's, I have a little more on this story. Also, after the interview, I want to talk about the other aspect of this. So you have basically two options. You can either feed the people and give the people what they need in terms of resources, or you can eliminate the number of people that are in society. Maybe I'll do that now. Which also this week we had the report pushing for the Pentagon and Congress to make women sign up for the draft. So we're back again with the female draft. This is from Daily Caller, which I normally would not use, but they are reporting on a report. So a new report from the Bipartisan Policy Center urges the Pentagon and Congress to make women register for the draft. For the Bipartisan Policy Center, the current selective service system, among other Pentagon personnel issues, is badly out of date and in desperate need of reform, which requires cooperation from both the Pentagon and Congress. The biggest mistake, indeed, the worst outcome for the Defense Department would be to do nothing, the report released Monday stated. Quote, elected officials and Pentagon leadership should take meaningful action to advance personnel reform by the end of 2017. Through bipartisan cooperation and leadership from public officials, the United States can ensure that its long-standing military advantage can endure well into the 21st century. The report proposes to make selective service gender equal and redesign the system to pay far more attention to specific skills or technical qualifications possessed by participants. In the event of a major disaster, the military would be able to institute a smart draft, that is, funnel in draftees with particular aptitude in a high-demand area. So let's look at where this has gone. I have a feeling that we may actually see this. Look at the timeline. In June of 2016, so June of last year, the Senate voted to require women to register for the draft. Okay? In November, we had Congress dropping the plan. So Senate said yes, Congress says no in November. Then in 2016...
And even if a plan to draft women does make it in... For what it's worth, the Obama administration officially supports requiring women to sign up for the draft. Representatives from the White House and the Pentagon both confirmed Thursday that the selective service system should register all eligible applicants, men and women, as potential conscripts for a military draft. But there's no telling if President-elect Donald Trump will uphold that position once he takes office. A recent attempt in Congress to require universal draft registration was stripped out of the bill it was attached to amid objections from some conservatives. And even if a plan to draft women does make it into law, the US military has been made up entirely of volunteers for more than 40 years.
So, this is coming. Talk about this one's really hard, right? This is where you get into if the people who want to talk about, the collectivists who want to talk about ideas of like male privilege, like this is one that has consistently been an argument for the idea that there is not a universal male privilege. I don't think it's a privilege to be able to be conscripted to go off and get blown up in some war. And that has been something that has been the exclusive domain of men for pretty much as long as human beings have been having wars. They've been fought with male conscripts. The one exception would, of course, be the Soviet Union. During World War II, women were conscripted as well. So, universal basic income looks like communism. Female draft looks like communism. What's the problem with communism? What's the problem with communism? Well, what's the problem with socialism? Let's take a look at the 20th century. Let's take a look at the 20th century. And it's whether you're for global socialism or national socialism, which that's what Nazi stands for. And it's a place that it's a place that we're going, but the way around that, the way to it's coming. You can't prevent it. But the way to prosper, the way to evolve yourself is to embrace your power as an individual. And that's what we're going to be talking about with our guest, Adam Williams. Before we do that, since we had these little technical issues, I'm going to do some little preparation over here so that I can sit here while I have an interview with Adam, and that all looks good. So that I can do that, I've got a little piece that I prepared for you yesterday, just in case something like this happened. And after that's done, we will go to break, and then we will be back with our guest, Adam Williams. We've been at the show just a little over 6 months, and that's been enough time for some of the things that we predicted would happen in the world earlier on at the beginning of our time doing this show. Well, it's presented enough time for those things to start to come to pass. And I know I do. I joke around a lot about the whole Vin Stradamus thing and the whole prediction thing that I like to do. I'm notoriously accurate, but it's not because I have some sort of special powers. It's because I believe and I understand that history repeats itself. And if we know where we are in that cycle of history, we could make some predictions about what's going to potentially come next, at least on a high level. If you want to see a little bit more about the particular way that I view this and the system that I use and the cycle that I believe that we're in, you can go to my YouTube page and check out the Ascendant Project, which is a playlist on there, a series of lectures. I think it's about 18 different lectures that I did a few months before starting this show that detail that process and sort of how I'm able to do this Vin Stradamus thing. What I wanted to talk about today is why that makes this particular show different. Why that makes the show different from other shows that are out there that are telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, in order for us to change the world, to change the environment that we're in, to change the political system. I don't believe that that's actually possible. I believe that we are on a track and it's rolling along, that the best that we can do is to evolve so that on this time around, as individuals, we don't make the same mistakes that individuals have made in the past. And the people who are willing to make those changes within themselves to grow and to learn and to evolve, and also to recognize what's potentially coming next, are going to have an easier time in their life. They're going to prosper, and hopefully the principled individuals, the individuals who have really recognized that cycle, are going to be able to push their ideas and their genetics further into the world so that these changes and our species evolves more and more. Basically, you bet on the right horse. And I think that the horse race that we're in, as I've said before, and which is becoming more and more and more clear, is the horse race between the ideas of individualism and collectivism. Right now, with the right-left politics, we see the collectivists literally fighting themselves, literally fighting to see which collectivist ideology is going to be the top dog. We've seen this before. It happens constantly. It's to say which worldview, which collectivist worldview is going to exist, because only one can exist. They can't both be right. What I mean by that, just simple definition of collectivism as I'm using it, it is the idea that when you look at people, that the most important defining characteristic about those people is some grouping of them. In our society, it's very much about their race, their gender, their sex, their sexual orientation, and it's the idea that all people of this race X, all people of this gender have this particular self-interest or this particular characteristic about them. It could be positive, it could be negative, right? So if you would take, for instance, illegal immigrants, right? This is a prime example of a collectivist way of thought. You'd have people on the right saying, them illegal immigrants, they're stealing everybody's job, they're taking our money, we need to build a wall, we need to keep all of them out, they're rapists, they're coming in, they're taking our things, they're horrible people. And then you have the people on the left saying, no, illegal immigrants are necessary to our society, they bring diversity, diversity is our strength, and all of this. But illegal immigrants, no two illegal immigrants are the same. They don't have the same background, they didn't come for the same reasons. So, there are some who are immoral people, there are some who are moral people. But if you're a collectivist, you need to group them into one or the other. The thing about collectivism that's a problem, and the reason why collectivism doesn't allow you to make the types of predictions and to live the type of life and to have the type of success that I want you to have, the reason why it doesn't do that is because it's always wrong. It's always wrong. It's not the truth. It's always a mischaracterization of the nature of the group. Groups don't have a group self-interest. Not all black Americans all have the same self-interest. All want the same legislation to go through. All want the same either government programs or lack of government programs. All believe the same thing. Of course, that's silly. There are plenty of black Americans whose self-interests are diametrically opposed. So to say, oh, black Americans this or black Americans that, is living in a fantasy world. And if you live in a fantasy world, you can't make those type of predictions. You can't see what's coming because you can't even see where you are. And you start to see history through these glasses of deception. One of the biggest aspects of collectivism is the idea of the common good. That's the one I'm going to talk about today and why it's a problem. The reason why the common good is a problem, the idea of the common good, and we're going to see it so much with war on the horizon. We're going to see a call to the common good. More has been done that is evil and horrible in the name of the common good than perhaps than any other name and any other concept. And if you think about it, it becomes very self-evident that the common good must be bad for the individual. And it must be bad for most of the individuals in question. So imagine yourself at a party. Great party, great gathering, tons of friends, music, and then they bring out the spread. And it's just wonderful. Food smells great, looks great. What does everybody do? They just start meandering to the table, right? Right? Nobody has to say, oh, you need to eat this food for the common good. It's very important that you eat this food for the common good. No, because every individual there has a self-interest that is aligned, and they are moving in their own self-interest, and the food gets eaten. But you might imagine before the party started. Maybe it's being hosted by a family who's known for hosting parties, and they have a young daughter, let's say. And her mother tells her, you need to come in here and help me cook. We're about to have this party. You need to help me cook, and you need to set out the plates, and you need to set things out to prepare for this party because it needs to look good. Now, she doesn't want to do that. She said, oh, Mom, I want to go. My friends. No. You're a member of this family, and you have a responsibility as a member of this family to do this. That's the common good. It's a lie. There is no common good of the family. The family is a bunch of individuals. If the mother was honest, she would have to say, well, I don't want to do all this work, and you're here, and I can make you do this work. So therefore, I'm going to make you do this work because it makes my life easier. You notice that in this case, the common good of the family directly aligned with the desires of the mother. I want you to consider that as we head off to war. I want you to consider that every time you're told that what we're doing is for the common good of the country, not a single one of those times will the person speaking not want to do what they are telling you must be done. Every single time it will align with the individual desires of the person who is telling you it's for the common good. Throughout history, people have been incinerated. How many times have you heard that the Hiroshima bombing and the Nagasaki bombing, the nuclear bombs, how many times have you heard that that was for the common good? That because of those bombs, so many fewer people died. Those people had to be sacrificed so that the war would end. Totally not true. You're going to hear that over and over and over again in the coming months and probably in the coming years. And what happens when you go against what they say is the common good? You know, when you're no longer a good Christian or a good communist, comrade, or a loyal American. When you don't support our troops as though the troops were all of one mind, all of one morality, all believed the same thing, all had the same self-interest, as though every single one of those troops were served in their own self-interest by there being a war, by them being deployed. Support the troops. What about all the troops that have young children at home that because they're being deployed means that they won't be able to be stationed at a nearby base and watch their kids grow up? Am I better off supporting those troops by putting them under fire, or am I better off supporting those troops and their children by seeing them at home? Think about that. Support our troops. When you're a collectivist, you're going to be misled. When you look at individuals, when you see people as individuals, when you understand that all of our self-interests are divergent, they're not the same. And that if we want to get by, we have to negotiate with each other. We have to talk to each other. We have to have dialogue. We have to seek to understand. And then we have to speak clearly and rationally and logically so that we can be understood. And we have to be patient and we have to be compassionate. We have to be willing to see it from the other person's point of view. Otherwise, all that's left is violence. All that's left is coercion. The best way for you to eliminate violence out of the world is for you to make a decision as an individual that it's not all right. It's for you to make the decision that you are going to act without violence, that you are going to negotiate the results that you want, that you are going to make yourself a better person, and by making yourself a better person, make the world a better place. Welcome back to the Vin Armani Show. We are streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Vin Armani. Also on Twitter and Periscope at Vin Armani is my handle there. And of course on Facebook, on the Facebook page of our content partner, Activist Post. That's facebook.com/activist post. As you can see, I have now moved. I have immigrated myself over to the control room where Christian usually is, because my little robotic my I don't know. It was horrible. I tried to set everything up without my co-host, and it really didn't work. So, Christian, I'll be very, very glad to have you back. Next week. So, I'm going to go to my guest now that we're in the second hour. My guest, Adam Williams. Before that, I just want to mention that our founders discount has been extended for Counter Markets. If you haven't checked out Counter Markets yet, go to countermarkets.com. You will get your first month's newsletter for free. You'll get this month, which is March. We have April coming soon. Trends and strategies for maximum freedom. So what are we talking about this month? We are talking about how government overregulation creates opportunities for the gray market. It's a story about sort of the interesting history of Uber in 3 cities where they came up against a lot of government overreach. We also have a profile of Curtis Stone, who is an urban farmer who we talked to actually just a few weeks ago. There's an interesting story about a trend called co-living. Very, very cool. And the best places to buy silver online, along with our cryptocurrency reports, which have been very accurate. And if you had followed them from the first month, particularly investing in Dash, you would be a whole lot wealthier right now. So hopefully we will be able to keep up with that. Go check it out, countermarkets.com. Get your first month's newsletter for free. So with that, I would like to go to our guest. Adam N. Williams is a self-described former sycophant and Wall Street derivatives trader. He lives in Netherlands and now works to serve others, one person at a time, as a guide and a coach. Adam Williams, welcome to the Vin Armani Show.
Hey, thank you so much, Vin. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I'm struggling. I'm not used to doing the show sitting in this seat.
You've done a great job managing everything, man. I loved all that content. You know, I actually have not been watching really any United States television, so it was great to get some of the updates from your perspective. I felt like that last hour was like how Zero Hedge used to be before it got overrun with nonsense. So that was really fantastic. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment. Zero Hedge is awesome, but I mean, look, at the end of the day, you got to pay the bills. I understand that. I understand that we're in the nice place where we can be very authentic because we're not expecting to make any money, and we don't have a lot of overhead. I think once you got people that you got to pay, that things change. We've noticed
things
that.
Things always change.
Yeah. So we're in a very, very nice place. Speaking of things changing, I think that's a really interesting segue, and I think it'll help for people to get a little bit of background about you. We met at Anarchapulco. We actually you came up to me and you're like, hey, Vin, Peter Kallman told me, always Peter Kallman, right? He's connecting everybody in this scene. It's like, Peter Kallman told me that you should, that I should meet you, and I'm about to go and give my talk. I went and watched your talk, and of all of the talks, honestly, and I think people will figure out why by the end of this. Of all of the talks, like yours, I had goosebumps by the end.
Oh,
you know, it was very, very powerful. The way that you communicate, the way that you speak from the heart, and you speak really from experience, and that's rare. You know, especially in our world.
Thank you so much, man. I remember you coming up to me afterwards and saying how you loved it, and that I needed to come to yours, and I made a point to come to yours, and I thought that it was fantastic. I had actually not, of all the words, I focused on anarchist and voluntarist and libertarian, these different words more, but agorist is a word I've known about it, but I hadn't actually really studied the history. So that's what's so great about the community of people, of activists, and of people working to inspire is just all the different things that we can learn from each other. But thank you for that.
Well, let's talk about this story. You directed me to a very interesting post that I thought was very inspirational. And I think it tells a bit about you. It'll help us to tell your story.
Sure.
But also, I think it really does deal with the idea of personal development and acting as an individual and being introspective. Yes. Tell us about this recent event that happened with you and the background that now has spanned 18 years. Huh? So tell us the story.
Sure. So the story starts out with me growing up. My family moved all over the country, all around the United States after I was born. When I was 17, I had 17 addresses. So, I had 8, 9 houses and an apartment before each house, something like that. So lived 7 years in Indiana, 18 months in San Antonio, 2.5 years in Pennsylvania, a year in New Jersey, 2 years in Southern California in Huntington Beach, 9 years in Texas, where I went to high school and college, and then 9 years in Manhattan, 7 years in the Upper East Side in Stamford, Connecticut, and now in Netherlands since last year. But the operative part of the story is me playing college football. So, I was a starter and all-city player, in high school, but I was an academic star more than football star. Graduating, I didn't have any scholarship offers to play college football in Texas or out of the state. But I wanted to go to Rice. That was the best university available in the area. Between Rice and Penn, decided to go to Rice, and I walked on the team there, and I ended up redshirting the first year and then lettering for 3 years and playing in 33 games and playing against Ricky Williams and David Carr and Tom Brady and at Michigan, and all kinds of amazing experiences. And over the years, I obviously in America we don't have club teams, so when you finish in university, unless you go to the professional level, then that's it.
Right.
But I learned when I moved to Australia, when I lived there for 4 months, my last semester of college, I played Australian rules football. And they had club teams. There was guys 40 years old smoking a cigarette before the game. I said, what is this? So I said, well, this is great. So that was in my mind. And I came here last year after some changes in the U.S. and me wanting a new perspective and just new environment. Just had been too long in the Northeast after many different creations that changed, which we'll talk about later. And I found out that the NFL Europe is over, but there's a club team here called the Amsterdam Crusaders, the top level available in the Netherlands. And, after 18 years, I got myself, back in shape. And being in shape is being strong and stuff like that is one thing, but being able to sprint and twist and turn and tackle people and, deal with that type of stuff again, every day, that took something special to get back in shape for. And, just the whole experience, culminating with that post from this weekend and playing the #1 team in Europe, just so many lessons about delayed gratification, about what our choices mean in the aggregate. When we make choices on our health and fitness and strength, over years as an aggregate effect. And a lot of times we don't think about those type of things. So the whole process just has been pretty amazing. So that's kind of the beginning of the story.
So it's pretty amazing. I mean, I certainly played football growing up and all the way into high school, and I certainly could not at this point imagine, we're similar ages, I could not imagine going back and going through that. And as a matter of fact, the thought of it is kind of making my stomach hurt a little bit. Going back and doing a hell week and all of that. It's you have an interesting story in terms of your own evolution, and it's that sort of coming full circle is interesting. So that people know, you do quite a bit of personal development coaching, which we'll talk about. And in particular with Avatar, if you could let people know what Avatar is, then we'll dig into like sort of how your life has changed and how this system in particular has helped you out. What I will say before you do that, just as a preface, I'm someone who's naturally skeptical of, although I've done a lot of personal development, I'm naturally skeptical of anybody who says they have a system. But there was a little exercise that you did with everybody at Anarchapulco at the end of your talk, and it's experiential, and it was very personally powerful for me. And I always say the proof is in the pudding, man. So what I will tell everybody going, is some people who would be like, oh man, I do not endorse the Avatar course. I have never taken the Avatar course, but the little bit that I have experienced of it so far was palpable. So if you could tell people a little bit about this system and also how it's changed your life.
Sure. Well, the solution for that is to get you to course. So I know July is not going to work for you, but we're gonna work on that and get you at least to resurfacing, and then you'll be able to fully endorse it. It's my background in studying, I would say non-governmental approved information in terms of consciousness, is reasonably old. So I started with Tony Robbins probably in 2004, something like that, and just personal power and just studying the mind and things like that. Evolved over time I went to Abraham Hicks one event in Stanford, read Eckhart Tolle, just, really have just been a huge student of all things with how the mind works and how consciousness and beliefs work, especially after the financial crisis, and so many things changed with my reality and what I was focused on, and I really just became much more open to new ideas. I probably found out about Ron Paul kind of 2011 or so, and that was when I started to shift a bit out of that statist role. I was a statist, fully until 2010. And the Avatar course, I met my master. We call it Avatar Masters when you take the second 9 days, so you can deliver to others. So I'm an Avatar Master, and I've had students, and I have a master. I met her the day before the Stanford course started in August of 2012. So that was a really huge transitional point in my life. I had just destroyed really my entire Wall Street process, or my product had been destroyed, and I made a lot of mistakes because I had the wrong mindset and beliefs about what was going to happen with Wall Street wages.
If we could go back, so that
Sure.
people know, if you could maybe tell them a little bit about your background on.
Yeah.
I mean, I said in the intro that you were a derivatives trader, right? But
yeah, sure. What does that mean?
I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen the movie The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so my life was exactly like that.
Okay.
Except he was on the illegal retail side.
Okay.
Retail is one investor, institutional is many investors.
Okay.
And I was on the legal institutional side.
Okay.
So I was on the big trading floor.
Got it.
So that can I explain a bit
cool.
what it was like.
Cool.
But yeah, it was really that role. I mean, a good story that I tell is I had an internship at Merrill Lynch the summer before my senior year of university. I got back to Rice, and I got a letter in September that, hey, we'd like to hire you. You can come work for us in sales and trading. I said, fantastic. I got excited there. And
other way.
Yeah, other way.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go. Cool. Fantastic. Thanks. And here's your money. It's $40,000. I'm like, yes, sign. And then in 1 month later, they sent me another letter, and they said, we've actually increased your salary to $50,000.
Oh my God.
Great, sign. And then 2 weeks later, I got a third letter, said we've now raised it to $55,000. Dude, I fucking love Wall Street, man. It works great. And what was happening was kids were leaving and going to pets.com and Yahoo and Amazon and stuff, and they weren't going to their Wall Street internships. So I caught the entire bubble. The real bubble in Wall Street wages was 2002, 2008. 2009 was my best year.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was, and my point of bringing that up was, at the time, 99, 2000, especially before people had any idea what's happening with the Fed and all these other hidden agendas that people are aware of now, but almost no one knew about then. Investment banking was thought of as the best place to go. The smartest kids all were going to Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. There was no negative connotations at all like there are now post-crisis. And convertible bonds, what I was doing, looked at it as totally moral, very constructive, helpful thing for companies to be able to raise money and build their businesses by using instruments that could function as debt or equity that have been around since the 1850s. So, I became a millionaire, at 31. My goal was to do it at 30, but it took me an extra year. But I didn't have the right beliefs. I didn't have the right understanding. I didn't have the right knowledge for how the system actually worked. And because of that, I made a lot of mistakes when things changed. And that's why I always come back to everything comes back to beliefs, because inflexible or unexamined beliefs work until something changes.
Right. This is sort of the idea that I was sort of touching on in the little piece that I played before we went to break, and the idea that when you're dealing with people, certainly the only way to have flexible beliefs about people is to deal with people as individuals, because we see individuals can change, but when we say, oh, all women are X, all men are X, that's a very, very inflexible. And then when we are presented with, as we always are, with the exception to the rule, our brain has a very difficult time processing that. And so we either want to ignore it or we want to get rid of the exception, and that creates all kinds of problems.
Yeah, all kinds of cognitive dissonance and normalcy bias comes from that. And see, for me, I was just fortunate with the way that I grew up, that, just being basically the only black kid, everywhere I sat down for my entire life, with the exception of Rice University football and now Amsterdam Crusaders football. Right. I was going to 6th and 7th grade in Huntington Beach, and living from 0 to 7 in Indianapolis. There's just I was in play. My dad was moving up the realms in cable television. My dad is a really actually inspirational person. I'm going to be doing a training later on about a lot of the stuff that he taught me that I've been promoting since last week. And, he was president of cable television system. So, he worked extremely hard, modeled success in the corporate realm. My mother was, support and, taking care of the family. My sister went to Duke. I went to Rice. She's a doctor. I was on Wall Street for 10 years. So we just had a lot of focus on achievement, and on external success. And, again, that worked great until things change, and that's when I started to really work on the internal process.
So let's talk about working on the internal process, because I think that people, all of us have a system, and I think all of us have a moment where you sort of get it. And I think that your experience of searching, it really does mirror mine as well, of sort of just devouring as much information as you possibly can. And I found that it's not everything's going to resonate, because all of that. What was the quote? I believe it's Nietzsche who said that every book of philosophy is really something like I'll butcher the quote, but it's something like that. It's a biography of the author, right? So
Right.
so really, all that you're getting. And I've written a philosophy book myself. You know what I mean? And it
Sure.
really, what you're getting are the truths as you've experienced them, and it's not necessarily going to resonate with everyone. So you really, although you can read, and it's very helpful, the amount that you have to read before you find a system where you can explore it on your own and experience it for yourself, the amount that you have to read is so much, because you have to pull individual little pieces out of it. You know what I mean? Does that
totally
reflect your
understand.
experience as well?
Yeah, I mean that really fits perfectly with talking about Avatar. To answer your question from earlier, is that we talk about how there are word lessons and world lessons. So a word lesson is something that you read and is someone else's experience, and a world lesson is your experience. And so that's why Avatar course is so special, because unlike most other trainings or other systems, it's not a belief system. It's not some new belief system for you to adopt. Avatar course is a series of experiential exercises that allow you to examine your belief system in ways that you never were able to access before. So that's why, as you call it a system, I'd say experiential tools as a tool. Really, it's just the tool is the best word, I think, versus system. It's just a series of tools, and it's a community and a sangha. Sangha means a spiritual family. And I'll be going back there twice in the month of. Be there for a course in Orlando, for a course in June, and a course in July. And it's a 9 days in order to be able to get to know the real you.
This resonates with me highly, and it's something that I talk about quite a bit, and it's, I think, something that attracts me the most to agorism in particular when you're talking about and it's kind of one of the reasons why you're on the show. I said earlier today that it's perfect that you wound up on the show, but that the guest that we had, who will remain unnamed, but who was scheduled, had gotten a little bit upset because I had I guess basically I had called him out in a way by saying that he was following an ideological system and calling it agorism, whereas my real attraction to agorism is that agorism doesn't really lay any claim on exactly how you should do anything.
Yeah,
it's just
philosophy.
It's again, it's a tool. It's a mode of thinking and a tool.
Yeah.
And a mental framework, I would say, but but it doesn't tell you what to believe, right?
That's exactly the same.
All it says is, look, there's consistent behavior, morally, not even morally, just rationally consistent behavior and rationally inconsistent behavior, and that's how I've always, my favorite philosophy, my favorite aspect of philosophy is always logic, study of logic, right? That it's like, it's not an ideology, but it tells you how to think, not what to think, right? And it's agorism tells you how to proceed,
how to interact.
and how to interact in a moral way, but it doesn't tell you what actions you need to take. And so, I mean, that's something that I think is it's rare that you get presented tools in that way.
Very rare. I mean, we don't advertise. It's it's word of mouth, and we connect with the people who are who have been exposed to the tools, and do info hours, and it was great at Acapulco. We had seven folks at an info hour, a few days after my speech, which was the most I'd ever had at once. And one guy is working to take the course in Mexico next month, and then a few are working to take it in July. So it's moving forward. I've created 4 Avatar students so far, one who's gone through and taken all the courses. So it's just one of the part-time things that I do, and certainly one of the it's the one that has the biggest mission. The mission literally is world peace. I mean that's the mission of Avatar, is helping humanity awaken and realize that the only difference between us is our beliefs. And beliefs can be changed, by our own direction. So for me, what's interesting about my path is that a lot of people come to anarchy first from statism, from a hatred of government or from a resistance to government or through learning about Austrian economics or blockchain technology or something like that. But for me, I actually raised my consciousness first, and then I realized that my status beliefs didn't make sense.
That mirrors my experience exactly.
It's just interesting, it's a different perspective. So that's how I know it works, because that's the way that I came to it. So that's why when people, like, I'm completely ejected from any debates on laws or or statism thing. I'm just not interested anymore. It's not a solution that I see. I look at the French election, yesterday and today, and the market up so much on the base case scenario. I mean, it just, nothing makes sense. It's all rigged to go up, and these systems are just going to collapse. So the most important thing, I think, is for me to put my oxygen mask on, so that I can help other people, in the plane, and that's becoming more strong and understood, inside, and then project that, alignment and that effort, outwards.
It's again, it really this idea goes back for me to this, when you describe the two different sort of modes of approaching anarchism, and when you see the anarchists, that it really goes back to those people who came in the way that you're describing, those people who came in from the Austrian economic side or whatever. We saw a lot of them in this election because they had come in because they said, well, I don't like the way that government currently is, as opposed to the idea that the problem I have with government is that it is not morally consistent, and I know what being morally consistent is because I live my life in a morally consistent way. But those people who did not come in from the individualist side, those people who came in saying, well, let's bring in anarchism because that will be a better situation than the government, not on a moral basis. We saw a lot of those people go jump over to Trump.
Exactly, because there's no vision around the beliefs and the thoughts. There's not a complete understanding. And that's why I love all these different places that are aligned together, like how I find that Avatar course is aligned with the private coaching I do, which is different. So Avatar course is guidance and just helping people explore their own consciousness. That's not coaching or advice. Then over here, I do comeback coaches with.
Let's talk about that.
Volta. Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about did this come out of your own personal comeback, or is that where the comeback comes from? What is a comeback coach?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we came up with that name. We're testing our new niche consulting business. We're working with a leader named Sam Ovens. Have you heard of that name?
Never heard of him.
Or Ty Lopez.
I've heard of Ty Lopez, sure.
Yeah, so Ty Lopez recommended Sam Ovens, and that's how last year found out about Sam Ovens. So Sam Ovens went from 100,000 to 240 grand to 500,000 to 1.2 million to 2.4 million in 2015, and last year he made 18.25 million.
Okay.
And he just bought consulting.com. So he's really revolutionizing the consulting business. So the Comeback Coaches is part of that project, and we're bringing a fitness and wellness coaching product together to help people get out of their minds and into their bodies and their spirits. So it's a separate project that we started about a month ago. It's going great, and that's more the coaching and advice side for people who need alignment, who need someone to be accountable to. The problem for 80% of people is that they just can't focus. They can't.
Right.
They have ideas of what they want to accomplish, but there's no system, there's no plan, there's no way to get from A to B. So that's what the consultant does, is help people get from A to B, whether it's losing weight, becoming strong again, getting healthy, whatever it is.
It's so important to have, especially when it comes to things like fitness. One of the things that it's been a huge part of my life, obviously, for a very long time,
yeah.
and I've been rewarded by it. But I mean,
look at the difference in how your body looks and my body looks versus other people that are 38, 39. It's a series of decisions or not.
Right. And you know, both of us grew up as athletes, and both of us grew up in households with people who were educated, you know what I mean? And so we had some people to model off of in terms of work ethic and whatnot, and we had coaches, right? Teaching us getting into the weight room and understanding, how do I use a squat rack? How do I use a bench? How do I eat? All of those things. But so I think these are things that are in our lives, you and I. It's very easy sometimes, and I even find myself forgetting that I have this tool set, as you say. I have this tool set that I can work with and that I can use. It's there, but so many people don't. And the other thing is, so many people don't even know how to, for instance, judge. Like, I see people when I'm in the gym, I see people working out with trainers where I'm like, that trainer's not even in shape. Like, you don't even know how to pick somebody who can even tell you how to do this. Like, it's not even that you don't know even know enough to judge. And so I think it's very important. You know, I am a little bit introverted and don't really like being around people all that often, so I can't do it. But I think it's very important for people who are extroverted like yourself and who enjoy this to get out and coach. Let's talk about fitness, man. A lot of people don't make that connection, but I know it's so strong. Let's talk about the connection between fitness, your own personal evolution, where your mind is at, your understanding of your relationship to the world. Let's talk about that and what that's meant to you as well.
I've lost 45 pounds of basic, mostly fat, since the end of 2011. The end of 2011 was that was the worst time in my life. That was really challenging time. Right before really important relationship ended, and I was really unhappy. And the decisions I was making with my body at that time, and the lack of attention to my core and to my vessel, mirrored the poor choices that I was making at the time. And now, fast forward to being under 180 pounds again for the first time in really long time, and having a six-pack and being able to and I'm competing on the bodybuilding competition in December. I'll be on the board shorts because there's a new. Have you heard of that? I've seen it. Division. Yeah. The new division. Walta did her competition in Apeldoorn 3 weeks ago, and she had been training for, and I watched the guys on stage, and I said, "Wait, there's a way I can do this," because those guys are natural. About 90% of the Dutch men are using steroids, and I don't use steroids.
Wow.
And steroids goes right back in with, you can be strong and unhealthy, or strong and healthy, and it's so much more important to be strong and healthy, just with everything, because if you're building, just like quantitative easing or negative interest rates, when you're building your body on something that's not intrinsic to you, you have.
Well, look at how early all of these pro wrestlers die. You know what I mean?
A ton.
They die like in their 50s, man.
It's only people like Schwarzenegger and other people who just really carefully used it that are able to maintain health. But anyway, so I'll be in the men's athletic physique in December. And that's the higher body fat. The guys get down to 4, 5, 6% body fat with the steroids. That mirrors the new intentions and focus and results on creating a new life of prosperity based on all different values. Because all my values changed after when I gave up statism, and I learned about higher consciousness, and I took ownership for the ways I was hurting people and doing things. My life changed. But then also the opportunity where I had served and where I had made money was completely gone, and it was now replaced by algorithms, as you said earlier. So that algorithms and regulation destroy what I was doing. So most people do not connect the physical with the mental, because we live in a world that is so crazy here.
Right.
So crazy
Right.
with all the thinking and debating and laws and ideas. But what people really need to do is go away from this mind and go this way, and get in touch with that physicality, and get in touch with the spirit and the consciousness, the benevolence, the kindness, the compassion, the empathy. When we get in touch with those parts of it, all the decision making gets better.
And so you're in the coaching vein. You are focusing a lot more on the physical then.
Yeah, well, it just depends on the client. Right now, we're working on a 6-week coaching product, and it's 6 hours, on the phone with me or with Volta. Volta's we'll get to introduce her later, and she has an amazing background, which I'll let her share. And it's just having accountability, having someone working with you, being able to transfer my energy to the other person, and help them see things in a different way. My clients are just having awesome results. One guy just had a 5-figure win with the cryptocurrency because of mindset training that we did together a while back. So it's mindset, it's physicality, it just depends on the person. But you should watch my training about what I learned from my dad when I do it later. And what he really taught me was how to be an expert troubleshooter. So I'm an amazing troubleshooter, being able to see and perceive what the problem is. I've studied so much on observing people, really putting my energy over there with them. Lolta's got amazing experience as well. Actually, let me have her.
Yeah, bring her on if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Hold on, here she is. Okay, there we go. All right, so here we are. Okay.
Hello. Let's see if we can get over here. There we go.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me? I can't see you though.
I do.
I can't see you. Scoot over.
Wait.
Scoot over this way. There you go. Scoot over. There you go.
Here I am.
There you go. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Still can't see you.
How
Come
about
over.
you?
Come over closer. Come over closer to Adam. Yeah, there you go.
I have to sit here.
That's fine. That's perfectly
There
fine.
we go. Okay, cool.
So,
All right, cool.
so you two.
Wait, yeah.
Nope. Still
good.
can't see you. There. Now. There. You're perfect.
Yeah.
You're
Don't
perfect.
move.
Don't move. Yes, don't move. So, so you are doing you're doing sort of a co-coaching. You're coaching partners, as it were, with Adam, right?
Yes, Adam and me, we are the comeback coaches, and we help people, that have not been paying enough attention to their health and to their consciousness. We help them basically to come back. And I think what's amazing about our team is we bring a lot of expertise together. Adam has already told about his expertise. So mine are that I have a background in natural medicine and homeopathy.
Okay.
I have been studying that for 4 years, and I also have done a bikini fitness competition, so I know a lot about how to get in shape.
So, and I think it's great to have the male energy and the female energy, because sometimes one is going to be more powerful in a certain situation, or one is going to be more needed in a certain situation. So I think that's really great. Well, I'm definitely going to be following what you guys do and speaking more with Adam about this, because I think it's very, very, very important what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that's completely true what you said. It's like, always, life is about balance, right? Mm-hmm. So also balance between female and male energy.
It's very important, very, very important. Well, it's awesome. If you wanna pop Adam back on, I think I want to do this compassion exercise, this avatar compassion exercise. Thanks for popping on. Or if you want to stay on as well and just hand him one of the earbuds so he can hear, you two could totally both stay on.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, that works. So first of all, of course, thanks for being in your show. It's very nice. And yeah, we would love to do the compassion exercise with you all together.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Adam, can you hear me? He can't hear me now. Give him one of the earbuds there.
Okay, I'll leave this one. All right. Okay, back. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, is you ready for the compassion exercise?
So if you can front load this a little bit, this was the exercise that you did at the end of your talk at Acapulco. that I found to be very, very powerful. And I'd advise everybody to just listen along, follow these instructions, and just take a minute wherever you are. Take a minute to stop. If you're driving, maybe pull over. If you're at work, maybe look around and see if people are not there. Well, whatever. If you're doing something while you're listening, just stop, because this is a very powerful exercise. I know I'm no pressure now, but all right, go ahead, man.
I love doing this. Okay, so compassion exercise. All right, so honesty with oneself leads to compassion for others. The objective is to increase the amount of compassion in the world. Effective results are a personal sense of peace. Instructions. This exercise can be done anywhere that people congregate: airports, malls, parks, beaches, etc. It should be done on strangers, unobtrusively, from some distance. Try to do all 5 steps on the same person. Variations. Number 1 can be done by couples and family members to increase understanding of each other. Number 2, to be done on old enemies and antagonists still present in your memories. Or number 3, to be done on other life forms. Okay, so this is one of 30 exercises that can be found in Resurfacing Techniques for Exploring Consciousness by Harry Palmer. So what you want to do is, in this exercise, first you want to choose a person that you're going to do the exercise on. So it can be someone that you're seeing or someone that you don't see. You can do it on anyone. And just choose if it's a man or a woman. Obviously, you should know if it's a man or woman. I'll read the instructions, and you can say it either verbally or non-verbally. And you want to focus on the feelings that you have running the exercise on someone else. Okay, so here we go. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Source beings? Okay, great. So you chose your person. Step 1. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself: just like me, this person is seeking some happiness for his or her life. Step 2. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself: just like me, this person is trying to avoid suffering in his or her life. Step 3. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself: just like me, this person has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. Step 4. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself: just like me, this person is seeking to fulfill his or her needs. Step 5. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself: just like me, this person is learning about life. What was great at the end of Acapulco was, when I did that exercise on stage, just looking out at the room, no one was on their phone. No one was typing. Everyone was quiet, and everyone's attention was out, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very, very powerful exercise, and I think it goes right to the core of, I think, the theme that's been running through this whole thing is that we are individuals, and when we look at each other as individuals and we see each other as human beings, we start to see really the things that we all have in common with each other, and that we're all in this world and we're all trying to get by as best we can. And I think that it's seeing that eliminate so much fear and so much hate, and it enables us to cooperate in so many new ways. So it's very, very, very important what you're doing. If people want to know more about more exercises like that, or more about Avatar, more about the things that you're doing, how can they contact you?
Yeah, the best ways are either on email or on Messenger. I use Messenger a ton, or Facebook direct message if you don't want to install Messenger, whatever that is for on your side. Just riceowladam@gmail.com is fantastic. Skype is avataranw, and then it's Adam N. Williams on Facebook, and any of those ways to connect, and then we can have a phone call and can talk about either coaching and advice or the guidance. Basically, it's the matrix is, if you're looking for more happiness and spiritual awakening, then ask me about Avatar. And if you're looking to become healthy and strong and get your mindset right, then ask about the coaching.
Great, man. I really appreciate you being on. I'm glad that that things turned out the way that they did. I had to roll this show by myself, but it's fitting that that this show's about the individual, and it's fitting that you're on because I think what you're doing is very, very empowering, man, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I have a feeling you and I will be communicating a lot over the years.
For sure.
And so I really, if there are people out there who this resonated for, and I'm sure there were many, reach out to Adam. He's very, very available. And look, the help is there, and the coaching is there if you want to improve your situation in life and your individual and empower yourself as an individual. It's here. We're offering it for you right here.
Yeah. Totally focused on it. That's all I'm doing now.
It's great, brother. Thank you for being on. We will talk with you again soon. Adam N. Williams, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, bro. Talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
So, boom. Okay, well, we're back, and it's getting close to the end of the show. Very, very great guest, and thanks to Adam for coming on. Look, the power of the individual. Right? You get knocked down a little bit like today, and then there's a solution. If you're willing to prepare a little bit beforehand, if you know that you're going to encounter adversity, if you take it with some humility and also just realizing that it's a part of the process, you are guaranteed to grow, and you are guaranteed to appreciate those hard times. Because look, in this world of safe spaces and, people wanting other people to check their privilege and everybody feeling like, well, not everybody, but the people who are really, unfortunately, ignorant and who are not going to grow, wanting a situation where they're never challenged, where there's no dialogue. Those are the people who are not going to learn. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have someone who is willing to sit with you and point out the flaws that they see in what you're doing. Perhaps they're wrong. Perhaps they're wrong. But they're taking the time out of their life, and they're coming from their own wisdom and their own experience. And again, it's about choosing a coach. The proof is in the pudding. So I think that's an important takeaway. It's an important takeaway. Like I was talking about the trainers in the gym who are the out-of-shape trainer. You don't go to the out-of-shape trainer. You don't go to the unhappy, empowerment coach. The proof is in the pudding. You look at that person's life and you talk to them a little bit and you say, how has your life manifested change? Because it's in that change that you have the wisdom. Right? It's in the pain. It's them being willing to talk about being down and picking themselves up. That's how you learn. That's how you develop strength. And that's also how you are able to have more compassion, because when you encounter people who are in a similar situation, you're actually able to understand where they're at, and you're actually able to help them. So that's the end of the show today. If you want to check out the archive, you can do that at youtube.com/Vin Armani. Also in the little chopped up segments, which will need to really be chopped up today after the little technical difficulties, the technical hurdles that we powered through. You can do that on the Facebook page of Activist Post. That's facebook.com/Activist Post. And of course, if you want to just listen, you can listen on the podcast on both iTunes and Stitcher. We will be back next week. And it won't just be the individual. It will be two people cooperating as normal. Christian will be back. I know that everything went great for him today, and I can't wait to hear about it. I hope that he will share some of his great news on the show next week. And I hope that you will be back next week as well. So, until then, until next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, stay free.